They talk about the cost, but here's the funny thing. When it talks about water usage, your local Olive Garden uses as much water as an average data center. So
also, for the record, what he's saying about the water usage is total and complete bullshit. Yes. Just so we know. Maybe you could cherry pick some small data center somewhere servicing some sort of something that uses the 1,000 to 5,000 gallons of water that Olive Garden uses. But the AI training data centers use millions of gallons of water. There is no comparison there. So it's just total and complete
Even
bullshit.
on random stuff with, let's say like the death of Nolan Wells, the MAGA right podcasters are simping for Trump so hard that they're willing to put their reputation on the line on things that they've already said and then change and act like we don't got you on video saying it, like Officer Tatum.
She asked Officer Tatum about it, and he lied. Listen to this.
Has an altercation witness emerged? A witness that claims she saw an altercation at Horn Island. If this is true, if there is a witness who has a husband with her on the boat and they took a certain amount of video, it could change everything. Can we talk about a potential witness to an altercation? And she seems to suggest it was over Katie. Why? Don't know what the altercation was. Maybe it was, hey, leave her alone and get on the boat. Or leave her alone, she's my girlfriend. Or it could be anything. That is significant. It could prove or disprove your friend's timeline.
Well, Nancy, I think that it's a big obstacle to climb here because I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. No.
Hold on, Mr. Officer Dingbat. You've never heard of this? Well, that's a little funny because maybe like 2-3 weeks ago on your show, you talked about this exact same story, sir.
I received a DM from someone DMing another person. Now, I'm trying to leave these names out because I want to not mess this investigation up. I think law enforcement already have this. That alluded to the fact that, and I messaged this person because I want to talk directly to the person that I saw the DM from. And we haven't talked to this person yet. But the person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying, me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison.
This is why I call him Officer Dingbat. Bro, how could you have the nerve to go on your podcast, talk about this with people, and then 3 weeks later go on Nancy's show and be like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of anything.
I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever.
It just shows that you're trying to just cover up for the boys and lie. But excuse me, we have you in 4K on your own platform talking about this. Like it's just getting ridiculous now.
When you take in a totality of what these billionaires, the right-wing billionaires, are doing to keep control, as far as all the big corporations paying each other the same money to build up their stock, circular financing, with OpenAI, Google, NVIDIA, Anthropic, all of them just passing money around to raise up their stock. Then you have big corporations that are buying up rare books just to burn them, so that if you ever want to research stuff and look, you got to go on digitally and look on it, which they could possibly just put anything they wanted, make history the way they want it, things like that. And then the big corporations that are buying up all the farmland, and they're growing seedless food so that in 20 years or so, it'd be hard for you to even find seeds in food. So they can control who grows food and keep control of the market that way. So farmers will be at the behest of billionaires as far as wanting to buy seeds, wanting to grow things that are non-GMO, things like that. This is what they're doing. But also taking away our freedoms like this.
U.S. citizens are now being detained at the border for allegedly writing negative tweets about Israeli politicians. I'm not joking. Take a listen.
I was detained and questioned by the Department of Homeland Security yesterday for 3 hours about Israel. I returned yesterday from my trip to Lebanon, and through the passport line, they immediately took my passport, put it in a red folder, and said the DHS has to speak with you. Of course, I went. They didn't let me take my luggage. And when I get there, they start asking me questions about me, my family, my friends, where I went to high school. They wrote everything down. I'm not going to lie to them. They looked through my social medias, and then they asked me, have you ever doxed anyone? I said no. Have you ever doxed a politician? I said no. Have you ever said anything negative about an Israeli politician? I said yes. Now there's not one guy, now there's two guys, agents with the badges around their necks asking me questions, and they say, why would you do that? They were talking about a tweet about Ben-Gvir, an Israeli minister I made in April of 2026. They told me, do not do that again. Do not make a negative tweet about him. After about 30 minutes more of questioning, why would I criticize Ben-Gvir of the Israeli government? Took more information, my phone number, my email, my address, and then they said, do not do this again.
This is why it was so important to take over the entirety of the legacy media, which is what Larry Ellis has been doing, with CBS and, all the other, CNN, all these normally bipartisan news stations have now been taken over. So you don't see what's really going on, like what's really going on in Gary, Indiana. They've been outpowered for a week. And the governor just gave $15 million to Israeli startups so they can start bringing more business in the town.
So there's this thing called Iron Nation, and it's an Israeli venture capital fund. Just recently, Governor Braun of Indiana just signed something called the Iron Nation Indiana deal.
Which means the governor of Indiana just sold y'all out.
Where he is investing $15 million of Indiana's taxpayers' money into Israeli startups. So they're going to start building Israeli startups. They're going to have a headquarters there in Indiana where they're taking people from Israel and bringing them over to settle in Indiana.
What?
And Indianans are paying $15 million for this. So they've even said that they're going to integrate the Israeli citizens into the neighborhoods and make them parents at their schools and all of these things.
So it's a very good possibility that they're starving everybody out in Gary to make everybody in Gary to either pass away, or most likely everybody just leaves Gary because there's no power. And next thing you know, a month later, a year later, all of these people come in and just take over the city. This is disgusting.
They're saying power might not be restored till September. What do you think is going to happen to a lot of the people there? No power can't work. No power, no gas, no heat. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to move. See, back in the day, like back in Tulsa, they used to burn down cities to take over the land. Now, they are just shutting off power. And people say, oh no, the grid, it went down, da-da-this and da-da-that. You need to really understand what's happening. You need to really pay attention how we do false flag things just to see how it goes. I predict there's going to be more blackouts coming. These are things they're doing to do land grabs. Notice where the areas are. Pay attention. Pay attention. We've been knowing these things for a long time. But it's time that everybody bring attention to it. Like Frank Zappa did in 1986.
Could I make a statement about national defense? Yeah. The biggest threat to America today is not communism. It's moving America toward a fascist theocracy. And everything that's happened during the Reagan administration is steering us right down that pipe.
Oh, Mr. Zappa, you're not really serious if you're saying we're going toward a fascist theocracy.
That's right, we are. When you have a government that prefers a certain moral code derived from a certain religion, and that moral code turns into legislation to suit one certain religious point of view, and if that code happens to be very, very right-wing, almost toward the till of the Hun.
Well, then you are an anarchist. Every form of civil government is based on some kind of morality, Frank.
Morality in terms of behavior, not in terms of theology.